Let's talk about difficult coworkers. Michelle, are you ready to do this?
I am ready.
We are going to go through a couple of stories on Reddit that have to do with difficult coworkers, and we want to know what you think about these stories as well. Welcome to Just Between Us Unfiltered. I'm Tiffany,
I'm Michelle.
and we said what we said. All right, Michelle, let's get right into it. I'm going to put my glasses on because I need
Okay.
to see what I'm reading. And I'm going to start with the first one. So this
Okay.
one is not from AITH, which is Am I the you know what? It
Uh-huh.
is from TIFU, which is Today I effed up. Okay.
Oh,
Today I effed up by adding, in quotation marks, the celery man to the name of my friend on his resume, which he did not notice. My friend has a bad habit of not double checking or revising his work. Earlier in 2022, he asked me to look at his resume as he was looking to apply for new jobs. I said, sure. Let's say his name was Tom Henderson. I edited the name to be Tom the Celery Man Henderson. I also added a bullet point to each of his positions in his job experience that said crunching and munching on that celery. Why did I do this? I did it as a joke, assuming he'd see it and remove my silly edits. When I gave him feedback on the resume, I asked him if he would be sure to make some revisions before sending it out. He said sure. Well, he didn't. Not only that, but he never noticed the edits. It turns out since April 2022, he has been sending out resumes with the celery man on his resume. He has good experience and has been frustrated all year how he got like no interviews. He actually had one initial call with a recruiter and was perplexed when the recruiter guy called him celery man. He had no idea what it meant, but just went along with it and never got to a second interview.
oh my God. I'm sure the guy just had one to see who the hell this person was.
Finally,
Oh,
before New Year's, he had a legit interview. They also made a celery man joke, which astounded him, and he asked why they made this reference. They told him it was all over his resume. He was mortified. He even told them he had no idea this was on there. But in doing so, it basically came out that he never double checked his resume. He thinks this is the reason he didn't get the job. In any case, I
no.
had to confess to him I was the one who did this, but it never had been my intention that he would actually send it to jobs. I thought he'd noticed it right away. Well, he is quite mad at me. He said I've made him a jackass to all the New York tech scene and went beyond all acceptable lines of pranking. I think he is overreacting a bit. I mean, it is a silly prank, really. And how in the world does somebody not notice this for almost an entire year? What do you think, Michelle?
I think it's the celery man's fault. I mean, the friend did him a solid, helped him with his resume and said, "Hey, I need you to overlook it, read it, make sure it's correct." And he didn't do it. So clearly this guy is lazy and expects people to do things for him. But again, like it's hilarious, but the fact that when you apply for jobs, you're supposed to cater your resume and cover letter for every job. So clearly, if he looked at the top of his resume, he would have seen the celery man. Like, so the fact that he just blindly just throws things up there, I mean, that was his fault, in my opinion.
And his friend said, look at my edits
Yeah, he wanted him to
before
laugh.
you send it. His friend warned him.
But honestly, his friend maybe like after a couple of days, wouldn't he be like, "Did you get my edits?" Like,
That's another
How do
issue
how do
too.
you go for a whole year and not mention it and say, "Hey, dude, how could we never mentioned" your friend's applying for jobs, right? And he's never mentioned it. So either he just thought it wasn't funny, but like when you ask, like if I did that to you, I'd be like, "Yo, girl, did you see my edits?" I'd be asking you like 100 times until you acknowledged my freaking edits.
Okay, so I want to ask you,
Yeah.
if you took my resume
Yeah.
and named me after a vegetable, what would you call me?
Oh God. What would I call you?
Like
A
that guy was the celery man. What
A
would I be?
vegetable.
What
A
woman?
vegetable?
Yeah,
I would make you a pineapple.
pineapple. Because I'm spiny
Oh, wait, that's a fruit, but no, because you're cute and bright and bubbly and pineapple.
with a hard exterior shell.
Okay, would you rather be a beet, a
I
jackfruit?
like pineapple. I'll take pineapple.
Okay, I Sunny just see you see guys what I deal with. She's not a
I'm
yeah,
funny.
yeah, okay.
I'm joking.
Anyway, pineapple, it's cute, it's sweet, it's prickly.
Prickly, hard exterior.
Pineapple's technically a fruit, so it's not really a vegetable.
But
A
that's okay. So
vegetable
I would be Tiffany, the pineapple woman.
okay. Well, what would I be?
I should have thought of this before I asked you this
Yeah,
question.
yeah, you should have thought about this.
See, here's the problem.
Oh, no.
When I'm thinking of vegetables,
Okay.
every single vegetable practically is some sort of phallic symbol.
Are you trying
Eggplant,
to say that I'm a dick?
zucchini, carrot. Like what do I pick? I don't know. I want to say tomato, but actually tomato's a fruit.
I mean, in the
Sweet
spirit
pota- I'm gonna go with sweet potato because you're sweet.
aw,
Michelle, a
sweet
sweet
potato,
potato.
sweet potato, 'cause I look like a potato? Okay. Are you trying to say I'm fat?
Are you trying to tell me I'm hard and spindly on the outside with a soft center? Citrusy?
I'm gonna say
Southern
you're a nut.
roasters?
I'm gonna say Tiffany's a nut because she's a nut.
Well, that's for certain. That's for certain. You guys let us know in the audience,
We
what
should edit that out. Just saying.
no, it's hilarious. We're leaving this in there. And everyone in the audience, you let us know what fruit or vegetable you think you would be. Let us know. Okay, let's go to the next story. Let me pull it up. AITA for stealing my coworker's dream honeymoon. I have a coworker who loves being engaged. She's the quintessential typical bride to be. She has her wedding planned to the smallest details and talks about it all the time. She's the type to share mood boards and swatches with us during lunch. This isn't something that bothers me, but I wanted to paint a picture for context. I actually like talking to her about her wedding. The issue that came up was that she was sharing with us about her honeymoon destination. It's a cute seaside city, and honestly, I thought it sounded great. I shared it with my husband, and we decided that we'd love to take a vacation like that too. Because of our itinerary, we decided to visit a different but very similar city in the same county. Think San Diego versus Santa Barbara. When
Mhm.
I came back from my trip, my coworkers were excited to see pictures and hear about the trip, and I shared some chocolates that I had brought as well. The entire time, my coworker was kind of icy, and I finally found out it was because she thought I stole her idea for a vacation. She said that since I've gone on a similar vacation, I've stolen the magic of coming back to talk to our coworkers about it. Even though it's a different place, she says it was similar enough and that it was a bad thing for me to do to take the attention when she's been planning her trip for a long time. I personally don't feel like I did anything wrong since we went to a different city and did different activities than what my coworker talked about. She likes sporty things like hiking, and I visited museums and dined out more. But she's so upset. She's talking about changing the destination of her honeymoon entirely. So I feel like I'm missing something. Please let me know. AITA.
And AITA stands for Am I the A-hole? So a lot of people who don't know what that stands for. I think the coworker, the one who's getting married, she needs to take a chill pill. I think she's the type of person who just likes a lot of attention. Like maybe she was an only child and she just loves to have all the attention because she's just bragging about her wedding and her honeymoon constantly. So she's getting all the attention. And somebody was inspired by her vacation idea and went on a different vacation. It was not a honeymoon. It was not even the same exact place. They didn't go to the same place. They didn't go to the same hotel, the same destination, and they did different things. I think she needs to grow, wear her big girl panties and relax. No one stole her thunder for her wedding. I think she's being a child.
Yes. Yes.
Being a child.
Imagine doing the same things. What imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, I say. And I think planning a trip to Paris and your friend gets mad at you and is like, well, I was going to Rome.
Who
Oh,
cares? Even
good
if they
for
were going to Paris and you went to Paris, who
exactly.
cares?
It doesn't matter. It's a different
Right.
experience. And the weird thing about this is it doesn't seem that she cares about the destination, about the honeymoon. It's that she feels when she comes back, the thunder has been stolen. She can't tell the stories.
Well, guess
That
what? No one cares. I hate to tell this, Karen, but nobody cares about your wedding or honeymoon. They're sick of hearing it. They're sick of you
it,
talking about yourself and they want you to shut your pie hole. They don't care. Even if you come back with your photos, they're gonna be like, "Mm, yeah, okay, Jan." Nobody cares. They're being polite.
I mean, some people may care, but it's like, don't block other people from enjoying. When someone has a good idea and you do the same thing, you're telling them you thought it was a good idea.
I mean,
Not everything.
I've had people flat out steal things and do the exact thing as me. Literally the same thing, and it's like, okay, like I'm literally about to do it or I'm in the middle of doing it and I tell someone and they go, "Oh yeah," and they go run off and they do it. Now that's kind of stealing, but again, oh well, it happens. But again, this woman is acting like the whole office just needs to live for her honeymoon. And I think it's a little, I'm an only child, I'm special, the world revolves around me-ish. And I think she's turning people off and she thinks they're all going to be excited. And maybe they will be, some of them will be about the photos from her trip. But I can tell you, people are probably sick of this woman always talking about herself and her wedding and her honeymoon. And the fact that she can't delight in someone else going on a vacation is kind of sad. Now, I have a little quick story to tell, really brief. When I worked at a department store, this is really sad. This woman, she was married to a man in the military, so they had like a justice of the peace wedding. So she decided 7 years later she was going to have this huge church, I mean, this huge wedding with the big dress and the photographers and the cake. You know, some people, they really have that fantasy. They really want that wedding, right? So she was just going to invite everyone in the store. But what happened was she talked about it and talked about the planning and the cake and the dress and the song. And she bothered everybody for months about her wedding. And then she got to the point where she was like hackling people. Well, did you do your RSVP? And did you pick out your songs? And if you don't pick out your songs, you won't have your song. Did you choose what you want for the dinner and this and that? And she just talked about it incessantly, bugged people for months. So finally the wedding comes around and I rode with like 3 or 4 of my coworkers and it was like 45 minutes out. It was a destination. Beautiful place that had swans in the lake. I mean, it was kind of an overkill for a wedding and we're like whatever. It was like a little wedding venue. It was beautiful. And we're late. We're like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, we're freaking late. And she was like, you better not be late. Here we are late. So we're running and running and running. And then we get there and we see another woman who worked with us who had made the cake. And she kind of has this look. And I'm thinking, oh shit, you know, the wedding started. And she's like, and we get up to the venue and the cake that she talked excessively took up an entire table. Okay. It was like 8, 10 layer cake. It was ginormous. It had a bridge, like a waterfall in this cake. It was the most over the top wedding cake. It was beautiful, but again, it was very extravagant. We get to the venue. There's like 2 people there. Nobody showed up for this wedding. She had all these RSVPs. Her family had flown in from out of state. She had the videographer. You have the waterfall. You've got the swans swimming in a lake. And then you have this cake, 10 layers of a cake. And there's like 3 of us and like 3 people in the chairs, and there's nobody else. And I'm
That's
like,
so
and there's
sad.
a videographer and a photographer. So we go in the back where she's getting ready and she's trying not to cry. And her mom is pissed. Nobody showed up. So she planned for months this huge dream wedding. And everyone was so annoyed with her. And I felt so bad because if we wouldn't have come, she would have had no guests. Okay.
Oh,
She
that
had
is so
maybe
sad.
7 people, 10 people. Some of them were family. So literally she was crying and she has a videographer who's filming her, by the way. Yeah, she hires a photographer and a videographer and she's pretending not to cry. We're like, oh, you look so pretty. And we're like, oh my God, we're sitting down and we're in shock. Okay. So when she walked down the aisle, they had to take away like almost all the chairs.
Oh no.
And it was so sad. It was over the top wedding. the cake. I mean, my God, she could have fed 100 people plus with that cake. I mean, it was just so over the top. Anyway, so the sad story is everyone RSVP'd, but they didn't want to show up because she's annoying. But I'm like, that's messed up. Don't RSVP and not show up. So literally 25 years later, I still remember walking into that venue worried that we're late and we were the only guests. It was terrible, but she had bothered people so much with all these details about her cake and her wedding and the dress. And then it was like, okay, enough already.
But
People
really,
are tired.
all those people didn't like.
She said she had like 100 RSVPs or 50, whoever, I mean, whatever it was. It was supposed to be like a really big wedding. And she didn't have a lot of friends. And so most of them were from our work. And I was like, what terrible people. I'm sorry, but don't RSVP. But I think she had annoyed everybody and her family had flown in and you could tell her mom was pissed and she was trying not to cry. Can you imagine being the bride and you have your dream wedding? You're standing in the back and you have a videographer in your face who you hired to take video of the moment. Your mom's pissed and 3 or 4 people show up.
It just doesn't like. That's so horrible.
And
So
the cake was just, oh my God.
my ex-husband and I, we got married in the courthouse in 2011.
Mhm.
And then in 2013, we almost divorced. And he came back because whatever. He came back and he was like, let's get back together and let's have a big wedding. And we did. We had our wedding at Disneyland, you guys. We did.
That's right. That's right.
And I have to tell you, I could care less who showed up.
Mhm.
I just wanted to celebrate. I had 2 stepkids. I wanted to celebrate with my stepkids. I wanted to have the experience. I had a horse-drawn carriage, you guys, that took me to the ceremony and walked me out. And speaking of the cake, my biggest regret to this day, okay, I'm exaggerating. That cake was so good.
I love wedding cake. I'm a cake girl. I love cake. Give me
And
a piece.
imagine the cake from the chefs at Disneyland, okay?
Oh, wow.
It was 3-layer cake, and one of the cakes was, like, Oreos with, cookies and cream frosting, okay? I
Oh.
literally took 1 bite, got on the dance floor for 1 dance, came back, my plate was gone, they took it.
Oh, no.
I
That
had
makes
1
me wanna
bite and
order
got
cake
this
real bad. I want cake right now. I'm about to DoorDash some freaking cake. Not like I need cake right now, y'all, but I want cake now. Does anyone else want cake? I want cake. Thanks, Tiffany.
I want my cake from
Carrot cake.
2015. I want my Oreo cake with my
Aw. But
It
anyway,
literally was a
to relate
second.
to that story, why her coworkers, I mean, I'm telling you, they're probably annoyed with this woman because everyone got annoyed with this poor lady. So sad. So sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me get the next story loaded up.
But I do really want cake now.
Okay. So this one is someone asking for advice.
Okay.
And it says, one conversation with a stranger made me question my entire relationship.
Oh.
I, 22 female, dated my ex, 20 male, for about 9 months. I know that's not super long, but we went through a lot together in that time. Family issues, loss, etc. So we got really close. We also had really good communication. Honestly, we barely ever fought. That said, the last couple months of the relationship, I started feeling myself disconnect. I tried to talk to him about it, and he would immediately try to fix things, but it almost made it worse. I just couldn't get that feeling back. Around that time, a new guy, 23 male, came into my office one day and sat across from me. We had a completely normal, non-flirty conversation with other coworkers around, but for some reason I got that giddy feeling, and it made me realize how disconnected I'd been feeling in my relationship. A few days later, I ended things with my boyfriend. I hadn't talked to the new guy again, didn't have his number, barely even knew him. I just couldn't ignore how I was feeling anymore. I did not leave my boyfriend for this guy, but the conversation made me realize I was already halfway out. The breakup was really hard. He was heartbroken, and it hurt me a lot to see that. About a week later, the same guy came back to the office. We talked again, and he asked me to go grab food. I said yes. We ended up hitting it off, started talking more, and eventually went out. What was supposed to be a quick farmer's market trip turned into spending the whole day together. Now my dad thinks I moved on way too fast. and is really against it, which is adding to my guilt. So, am I the a hole for ending my relationship after that conversation made me realize something was missing?
I would say no. I think you'd be more of an a-hole staying in a relationship that's not working and wasting the other person's time and your time. I think there's too many people who are not honest. And they stay in these relationships for years because they just, one, want to be in a relationship, two, don't want to hurt someone's feelings, three, they think this is it. It's not going to get any better. People, there are so many people who settle. And I'm not saying, if you have a problem in your relationship, you throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to spice it up. Relationships ebb and flow. But if she felt like something was missing in her relationship, or maybe he just wasn't the one for her and she knew that, maybe she could have tried to talk to the boyfriend, try to work it out with him. But maybe she just knew she had been with him for a while, and maybe she just realized, I met this new person and they're more exciting, and this is what I want more out of a relationship. I want this versus what I have. So I wouldn't say she's the a-hole because she didn't necessarily dump her boyfriend and have an affair for this guy. But I think she just realized maybe there's something out there for me. I'm just not happy.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
connection here.
Connection.
So there's a couple of red flags I see in this story.
Okay.
First one is they were together for 9 months, and a couple of months into it, she was already having doubts. Okay, so you could almost say halfway, a third of the relationship, she was already kind of checked out. Okay, then she says, we went through a lot of stuff together, family loss, whatever. That makes me think that their connection was more based on comforting each other and not on substance. Then she also said, we barely ever fought.
So there was no real investment. There was no passion. Look, I dated guys before where I never had an argument with them. I notoriously dated the same guy twice, and he was never what I wanted, ever. He never was the one I wanted. And it wasn't his fault. I do feel like a bad person, but I was the girl who always wanted the guy you couldn't get. We always want what we can't get. And so I was on and off with this guy for 2 or 3 years, and he got me during the off period. He was a nice guy, a nice guy. And we went out. He bought me flowers every week. I mean, he took me to dinner. I mean, he tried to be the person, but he just never could be the person for me because we just didn't have anything in common intellectually, personality wise. He was very hospital corners, didn't have a lot of personality, but he was a sweet guy. And again, I dated him for a couple of months, but I've always knew from the very beginning he was not it for me. He wasn't the one. But I dated him anyway because, well, why not, right? So I did a 6-month relationship, and then I finally realized I couldn't fake it anymore. Couldn't do it. I did it to him again 10 years later. He weaseled his way back into my life. It was in between the 4-year relationship that I loved. It was very passionate, but it unfortunately just wasn't where it should have been. And so I started dating him. I dated him for a year. The whole time we never fought. We just had bland conversations, bland time. He brought the flowers. He would bring me Starbucks when I was going to school. He was a very nice guy. But I always knew he was not for me. And I dated him for a year, and finally I had to break up with him again. And I felt like a bad person. I did try to make it work, but I just knew he wasn't for me. And we're still friends to this day. He's a great person. It's just he wasn't my person. And I just always knew.
The other thing that bothers me about this story
Yeah.
is that her dad is telling her.
Well, her dad needs to butt out. Her dad
Her
has no idea.
You know what my dad would say? My dad would say, dump them all. Dump 'em all. Just stay single. I'm not kidding. My dad, that's what my dad,
Just be a daddy's girl. Yeah.
God rest his soul. That's what my dad would have said. My dad would have never said, you shouldn't have broken up with him. My dad would have been like, you should have broken up with him 3 weeks ago. You should have never even gone out with it. So it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, it's almost like the dad is saying, stifle your emotions, stifle your feelings. It's too quick for you to go out with one person and go out with somebody else. And
Mhm.
I think timelines are different for different people.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times when you're in a relationship where maybe you've been in relationship in name, but you haven't had intimacy with that person. And intimacy doesn't mean only physical. It means having someone that like makes you feel like you're not lonely. It's
Mhm.
easier to get into a relationship where you're getting that um, emotional need fulfilled.
And a
So
lot of people, when they have relationships, they don't have the emotional part filled, but they have the physical part filled. Because let me tell you, some long distance relationships, you have more of a bond with someone because all you have is the emotional connection. And they say an emotional connection is stronger than a physical connection. But a lot of times when you're in person, you don't develop the true emotional connection, right? And the emotional connection is where things get deep. And so she probably realized with her boyfriend, who never had an argument, there just wasn't a lot of passion and there was not a lot of emotional connection. They probably just got along really well and maybe had things in common. Maybe they had a great sex life, but ultimately they were not connected emotionally. Where women, we really need to connect emotionally with a man. Physically is great, but a woman has to literally emotionally attach to a man for it to work. Men are the opposite way. They take longer to get emotionally attached. But for women, we have to get attached first on the inside, right? And then the outside helps.
I also think if you read between the lines of what she's saying,
Mhm.
he seemed like almost a people pleaser. She would say she didn't like something or whatever, he would change it, and she said it almost made it worse. So I think she was checked out a long time before. It almost seems like that difficult time they went through was the only thing really holding them together,
Yeah.
and eventually that fell apart. So that's my opinion about.
So she said he was trying to please her all the time, so he was basically he didn't have a personality. And like I said, nobody wants to be with their twin. And arguing actually is a sign of a healthy relationship. Arguing is a sign of a healthy relationship because when people stop arguing, it means they don't care. When someone's
Or they're
passionately
scared.
involved, they're going to fight. Not always like in a mean way, but when people get passionate about things, they have fights and they make up. They're being real. They're being honest. But if he's always trying to people please her and okay, honey, whatever you say, honey, who wants to be with that? That would be boring after a while. I think. I mean, my God, Tiffany, me and you fight 100 times a day. Play fight,
No,
argue.
no, they're real fights.
Oh.
"You called me a pineapple."
Anyways, but you know what I mean? Like you have to be able to be real, be passionate with people. You can't just be like, whatever you want, whenever you like. I mean, I'm sure Tiffany would love when she calls me and says, "Hey, Michelle, I have an idea for a show." And I'm like, "Sure, whatever you want." Because I'm always like, "Nah, that's not going to work." I'm
Girl,
like,
that would be a nice change, let me tell you.
it would be so
For
boring.
once.
We literally take forever. Like, we do agree on a lot of things, but we do talk it out. But yeah, it would be boring if someone's just like, whatever you want, whatever you say. You're right.
And I
Oh,
think that's why this podcast and this community is so important because we all have different perspectives and different
yeah,
opinions, and we respect each other, and we say what we think and what we feel, and we joke too because we want to laugh, you guys. Life is
yeah,
short.
it is
We
short.
need to, yeah, yeah. Okay, ready for the next one? This is the
Yeah.
last story. Ready for the last story?
Yes.
Okay, so this is another AITA story. I'm a first responder and was riding along with another shift for training purposes. The first day we drove through Chick-fil-A. I ordered a small mac and cheese, and in our area, that's about $4. He ordered a full meal. When we got to the window, they gave us 50% off, making mine cost $2. Second day, we went to a local. Oh, and then he said, the guy I was riding with said, "Don't worry, I'll cover you." I said, "Cool, thank you for covering my $2." Second day, we went to a local bistro that's decently pricey. I ordered a salad that was about $10. His meal totaled out to just over 20. When we went to the register to pay, he told them she's going to cover mine while pointing at me. To say I was appalled is an understatement. The cashier looked at me and I calmly stated, No, I will just be covering myself. The guy I was riding with got mad and started saying he covered me for lunch yesterday, so it's only right that I cover him. I'm not confrontational, but I'm also no punk. I calmly stated $2 does not constitute $22. If you'd like me to give you $2 to cover my small side I ordered yesterday, I will absolutely do that, but I will not be paying for your meal, and handed my card to the cashier. He paid for his meal and we went outside where he refused to let me get into the vehicle. He
Oh
continued
my
to argue.
god.
Yeah, he continued to argue and cause a scene in the parking lot. He told me I'm no longer allowed to ride with him, so I called for a supervisor. Once the supervisor arrived, he told them that he covered my lunch yesterday and that I refused to extend the same courtesy. I explained my side to the supervisor and apologized because this is literally so ridiculous. The supervisor essentially said I was wrong because I should have been respectful and paid for him like he did me. At this point, I was angry and told them this sounds like extortion and that I wasn't going to be taken advantage of. I told them that $2 is a whole lot different than $22. We're first responders, we don't make a lot of money. I continued to say if he wanted to buy him a drink from the gas station or give me $2, I had absolutely no problem doing so. But I was not going to be bullied into covering his meal because he covered mine. I ended up riding with someone else because obviously riding with him is no longer an option. So well, I'll say something about that later. The person I switched to also said I was wrong and I should have just paid for his meal. I don't think I'm wrong here. Had I known the previous day that I would be expected to pay for his expensive meal after him paying $2 for my mac and cheese, I would have never let him cover me. I feel like since he put me on the spot, me putting him on the spot in return was only fair. I don't feel like I caused a scene. I wasn't the one who argued and refused to unlock the doors. But now everyone's saying that I'm not a team player and I embarrassed him as well at our place of work. AITA.
I don't think they're the a-hole, but I mean, it was a lot more money than they expected because it would have been like $32 for the both of them versus whatever his was, and he had a coupon and it was like $2. So the person should not have expected the other person to pay for such an expensive lunch. And I would have explained that to them, but again, the person wasn't listening. So yeah, that's kind of a hard one. I don't
I
think
think the person did it on purpose.
probably. I
I
mean,
think they saw that that person's total the day before was $2, and then the next day they're like, "Well, we're gonna go somewhere expensive. I'm gonna pick out the most expensive thing," and
mhm.
they were hoping that their coworker wouldn't say
Yeah,
anything,
yeah.
but that person stood their ground. And when you're working with first responders,
Mhm.
you're going into dangerous situations. This destroys trust completely. How do you know you're going to walk into a situation that that person's going to have your back? You know, like this, it's it's a trust issue, and I feel like the trust between these two coworkers broken.
Some
And
people are just they're just greedy, and I think that's just a very not nice thing to do to someone. Um, so maybe in his mind, he just thinks, "I bought your lunch once, you buy mine." He doesn't think about price, but he needs to understand that $30 because they had to pay for theirs, which was 10, and then another 20, right? That was 30 compared to 2. That's a big difference, and maybe they didn't have the money. You shouldn't assume that someone has the money. I personally would never have asked the other person to pay for me. Even if I would have paid for someone's lunch, I would not assume the next day. I would never say, Tiffany, you bought my lunch yesterday, so go ahead and put your ATM card. I would just go about paying my own lunch. And if someone offered to pay for it, great. But I would not go in there with an expectation. Even if I spent 20 bucks on you the day before, I still would not expect you to buy my lunch the next day.
I actually think this guy did it on purpose.
But did he say to them, oh, or did she say to them when he bought the lunch, I'll get the next one?
No, she didn't. He
Okay.
walked in assume no,
So they
he
didn't say that
created
when he bought
to
the
me
first lunch.
to me, he this is what I think happened.
Okay.
They got to the Chick-fil-A window. He
Mhm.
found out her meal is $2. He's like, "Huh, I'll pay $2 today, and tomorrow I'll make her pay for my lunch. So we'll go to an expensive place and I'll pick an expensive thing, and she'll have to cover me because I paid for her yesterday." But
Yeah.
look, this is common sense stuff. You present that evidence to someone, how anyone could say this is an equal exchange is
Right,
it's
and the
this is
manager not realizing that's a difference. Yeah, that's kind
some
of
people were saying in the comment section that there is a certain type of group dynamic within first responders because it's all survival, they all have
right.
each other's back, and it's almost like don't destroy trust for $20. Like that's probably what people were thinking, maybe. Um, but I think that that guy was sneaky.
See, I personally, if someone would have done that to me, I would have just paid it because it's not worth it to me. Granted, it sucks, but I'm just the type of person, okay, fine. Because I wouldn't want them to say, oh, I bought your lunch, we didn't buy mine. So I would never do that to someone. But if someone did that to me and I had the money, I would just do it. I would just not want to fight over it. I wouldn't have gotten to the point where he had locked. See, and here's the thing. I don't understand why the management sided with him for being an a-hole. Okay, she didn't pay for the lunch, but then he locked her out of the car and clearly they're on a business trip. Why are they telling him, "Oh, you're acting appropriate"? They're literally rewarding his bad behavior. I would
Yeah.
have told him, "Knock it off. Be a team player and quit being an a-hole and, get over the lunch thing." I don't know. People are weird. People always assume things, and like for instance, I was a hostess in a Mexican restaurant in La Jolla, California. I actually had two jobs, and back in the day when I could work two jobs on my feet. And I was a hostess in this Mexican restaurant in La Jolla, a very famous one. And I remember I had car problems, and I needed a lift home, and I didn't live that far from there. And there was a guy who was a busser, and he was a hustler. He was always hustling, making side money, trying to sell sneakers to customers. I'm like, "What are you doing?" Anyway, so one day he had to give me a lift. I think actually I'd parked um, farther away, and I had my car, but I had parked really far. And so he gave me a lift, and he's like, when I got out of the car, he's like, "People normally tip me, you know, when I help them," and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I had to give him like $2 and we get paid out cash every night. So he knew I had a whole bunch of cash on me. So he was like, "Yeah, people always tip me." So this guy wasn't going to do anything nice unless he got something. Every single time he did anything for you, he expected payment. That was just who he was. And I was shocked. Like I would have given someone a ride for free, but he literally was like, "Where's my $2?" You know what I'm saying? And I was literally
In
like
a
3 blocks away and I had to give him $2.
in a way with people like that,
Yeah,
I'd rather just pay them the $2 and
exactly.
never,
Yeah.
like, let's just call it even, and I
Mhm.
will never accept a favor from you,
And that's
favor
pretty much what
from
happened. I
you.
never I never took a favor from him because a lot of times we had to park really far from the restaurant and it'd be raining or at night, and he would always offer, and I'm like, "Nope, I'd rather get mugged." I just say
I'd be like, "How much do you charge tonight?"
is it $5 because it's raining? Like he was just, again, I don't understand people, but he was a hustler. So everything was about a dollar
You
for him.
can't excuse you
No,
can't
no, but I'm
excuse
saying that's how he thought. That's how he thought. He was a hustler. Everything was about money. And I'm just not that type of person. So
Yeah, I think this guy was definitely trying to take advantage. That's
yeah.
what I think,
And
and
here's the weird thing. She's a lady and he's a man. I mean, again, not to be all whatever, but I do think that's weird. I've had plenty of guy friends or coworkers buy me lunch, men, and I try to buy them the next day and they're like, "No, he's just not a gentleman. He was trying to hassle her out of an expensive lunch."
yeah, he
He
was
must
trying to
be the
take
type
advantage.
that goes 50-50 on dates, just saying, or expects the lady to pay.
And
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna tell you, Michelle, because you had said earlier that
Yeah.
what you would have done is you would have just paid the $20 and gotten it over with, and I immediately thought, "But you wouldn't do that on a date."
Right, because that's a date. This is coworkers going to lunch. This is not a date. So they're not in a romantic relationship where she was going to pay her half and he was going to pay his. And then the day before, he's trying to act like a gentleman. "Oh, I got your $2." So she's probably thinking, well, that's very gentlemanly. Like I said, I've had many of male coworkers, people I've gone to school with who were guys who are like, "Oh, don't worry, I got your lunch." And I'm like, "Thank you." And I'm like, and then I try to like do it for them the next day and they're like, "No, we were not romantically involved." But again, they're gentlemen and they thought, "Oh no, she's a nice girl. Let me buy her lunch." No big deal. So she probably thought, oh, he's being really nice, thank you for the it's $2, no big deal. And then the next day he's like, okay, here's my $20. You got this one. And she's like, we're not dating. Who are you?
Yeah.
So I'm sure she was probably taken aback. Again, dating, it depends. If we're in a relationship and we've been dating for a while, I might pick up the tab for something. Sure, I'm not a greedy person. If we're dating for a while and he's done a lot, I wouldn't mind paying for something occasionally. But in the first 2 or 3 dates, no, I don't expect to be paying for anything. Sorry, I don't. And if it's the first date and it's really bad, I don't expect to pay for it either. You know what I mean? Because I got ready, gave my time up. That's just who I am on the first couple of dates. But they're not dating; they're coworkers. It's weird.
Well, everybody, we want to hear your thoughts on these stories. Let us know in the comments what you think about all of these, and feel free to share some of your wildest coworker stories as well. We thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, share this content with your friends, even your coworkers, if you think they may connect with some of these stories. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.